Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into some pretty big AI news today, specifically Anthropic and their Claude AI models. We've got some articles and benchmarks, even some developer notes to dig into.
Lots to cover for sure. Anthropic just released some major upgrades to their Claude 3.5 models, and then on top of that, they've also introduced this thing called computer use, which is generating a ton of buzz.
Yeah, AI using computers like it's straight out of sci-fi, huh?
Ah,
But before we get to that, let's unpack these Claude 3.5 upgrades first. Anthropic has two new models, Sonnet and Haiku. Sonnet's like the coding whiz kid.
oh, absolutely. Sonnet's coding abilities have seriously skyrocketed. Like, they're even outperforming AI systems that were specifically designed for coding. They ran Sonnet through this test, SWE bench verified, and Sonnet's score went from 33.4% to 49%. It's nuts.
Whoa, that's a massive jump. What does that kind of improvement even look like in practice?
Well, some companies, like GitLab, have been using Sonnet for DevSecOps, essentially keeping their code secure and running smoothly. They're seeing like 10% better reasoning from Sonnet, and get this, with no slowdown in processing time, it's like having a brilliant and super fast coding assistant by their side.
That's wild. Okay, so we've got Sonnet, the coding genius. What about Haiku?
Haiku is all about speed and efficiency. It's a smaller model, so it's perfect for tasks where you need results fast. What's really impressive is that it still performs comparably to the larger Claude 3 Opus model for many tasks, and it's also really good at coding, too.
Okay, how good are we talking? Give us the numbers.
Haiku got a 40.6% on that same coding test the SWE bench verified, which is incredible for a smaller model. It just shows that you don't always need a huge, resource-heavy model to get awesome results. Oh, and here's the best part. Both Sonnet and Haiku are accessible through various platforms like Anthropic's own API, Amazon Bedrock, and Google Cloud's Vertex AI. That means developers everywhere can start integrating them into their projects.
It sounds like AI is about to become even more integrated into our lives.
Hmm.
But let's talk about this computer use thing. What does it actually mean for an AI to use a computer?
This is where things get really futuristic. Imagine sitting at your computer, seeing the screen, moving the mouse, clicking, typing, opening apps, all that. Computer use means that Claude can do those things too. It's still in beta, but the possibilities are pretty much endless.
So AI navigating a computer just like we do, that's a game changer. What are the real-world implications of that?
Think about any task you do on your computer, right? And now imagine an AI that can not only understand your instructions, but can actually do them on the computer. Automating complex processes, building and testing software, heck, even conducting research could all be done by Claude.
Wait, are we talking AI researchers, like robots writing research papers?
Not robots, not yet at least, but it's definitely heading in that direction. Claude can already access and process info from the web, and now with computer use, it can actually interact with specific software and tools. It's like having a tireless research assistant who can follow even the most intricate instructions.
That's both amazing and a bit intimidating, to be honest. Is this tech ready for prime time, or are we still in the early phases?
Well, it's definitely early stages. There are still some limitations, like with scrolling and zooming, those are a bit tricky, but the progress is rapid. Anthropic put Claude through this benchmark called Osworld, which basically assesses how well an AI can use a computer just like a human would.
So how did Claude perform?
Using just screenshots, it managed a 14.9% success rate, but when given more steps and info, that jumped up to 22%. This shows that as Claude learns, it gets better at navigating the digital world. And the cool thing is, this all happens through an API, meaning developers can actually build on these skills and create even more sophisticated applications. It's really wild when you think about where this could all lead.
I know, right? Like we've got AI that's acing coding tests, can use computers like we do, and it's just learning more every single day. It's mind-blowing. But how does all of this fit into the larger picture?
Well, think of it like this. For so long, we've interacted with computers through keyboards, mice, screens. It's always been this barrier between us and the digital world. But with this computer use thing, that barrier is starting to disappear.
So instead of us telling the computer what to do, the AI just takes over.
Basically, yeah. It opens up so many possibilities. Like, imagine a world where all those boring, repetitive tasks are handled by AI. No more wasting hours sorting through spreadsheets or filling out online forms. AI could handle all of that, which would free us up to focus on more creative, strategic, or fulfilling work.
That sounds like a dream come true, especially for anyone who's ever had to do hours of data entry. But what about more complex fields? Like, could AI really contribute to scientific research or creative work?
For sure. Imagine, in research, AI could comb through tons of data, run simulations, even conduct experiments. It could seriously accelerate the pace of discovery in fields like medicine or climate science.
Wow, that's incredible. What about creative work? Could AI actually become like a partner in the creative process?
It's already happening. We're seeing AI generate music, write stories, even create art. But with this computer use, it could go so much further. Imagine an AI that not only understands your creative vision, but can actually help you bring it to life, like using design software, composing tools, whatever you need.
That's crazy. It feels like we're at the beginning of this whole new era with AI as our creative partner. But what about the downsides? What about people losing their jobs? If AI can do so much, are people going to be out of work?
It's a valid concern, for sure, and one we need to think about carefully. Throughout history, technology has always disrupted industries and changed the way we work, but it's also created new opportunities and jobs that we couldn't have imagined before.
So it's not so much that AI is taking over jobs, but rather that it's changing the types of jobs that exist.
Exactly. It's about adaptation. We need to focus on developing skills that complement AI, things like critical thinking, creativity, problem solving. Those are the skills that AI, at least for now, can't replicate.
That makes a lot of sense. We need to work with AI, not fight against it.
Yeah.
But how can we make sure it's used responsibly? We already touched on some of the risks earlier.
We need to be proactive about it, right? That means having clear ethical guidelines, regulations, and safety measures. We need transparency in how AI is developed and used, and there needs to be accountability for its actions. This isn't just the responsibility of the companies making the AI, it's a conversation we all need to be a part of.
That's a lot to consider. We're talking about tech that could totally change the world, for better or for worse.
It's a pivotal moment, no doubt, and the choices we make now are going to have a massive impact on the future. But I'm optimistic, you know? I think we can harness the power of AI for good while still minimizing the risks.
That's a good perspective. It's not about being afraid of the future, but about shaping it. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground here. But before we get too lost in the big picture, let's take a quick break to gather our thoughts. When we come back, we'll wrap up and leave you with some final food for thought. All right, we're back, ready to wrap up our deep dive into AI and all the exciting things Anthropic's been working on. I gotta say, my mind is buzzing thinking about all the possibilities here.
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot to take in. We went from those souped up coding models all the way to AI that can basically use a computer like we do. It's pretty wild.
It really is. So, stepping back a bit and looking at the bigger picture, what are the key takeaways here? What should our listeners be mulling over after this?
I think the biggest thing to remember is that the line between humans and computers is getting blurry, and AI is the reason. We're not just talking about AI as a simple tool anymore, it's more like a partner.
A partner? Yeah. And that partnership could change so much. How we work, how we learn, how we create. But of course, there are challenges, right? We got to be aware of the impact on jobs, the ethical questions, and making sure all of this happens responsibly.
Couldn't agree more. We gotta approach AI with enthusiasm, sure, but with caution, too. Asking tough questions, demanding transparency from the people building this stuff, and making sure we're actively shaping the future we want to see. This isn't just about the technology itself, it's about the kind of world we're building.
Absolutely. So, what can our listeners do? How can they be a part of all this?
Stay informed. Keep learning about AI and what it all means. Engage in discussions about it, challenge assumptions, and don't be afraid to speak up if you've got concerns. The future of AI isn't set in stone. It's something we're all creating together.
I love that. It reminds us that we're not just watching this happen. We actually have a real role to play in shaping what AI becomes.
Exactly. And that brings us to our final thought for everyone today. We talked about AI changing how we work, how we create, even how we research, right? But what about learning? Imagine AI as a personalized tutor, adjusting to your own learning style, opening up totally new ways to access and understand information. What if AI could actually help us learn better, faster, and more deeply? That's a future I'm really excited about.
It is a pretty exciting thought. It's a good
Yeah.
reminder that even with all the challenges, there's so much potential for good with AI. It's up to us to make sure we use it the right way to benefit all of us.
Well said. As we wrap up this deep dive, I hope you're all leaving with a little more knowledge, a little more curiosity, and a desire to keep learning. The world of AI is always changing, always evolving, and this is really just the beginning. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Until next time.